In an announcement that sent shockwaves through the global entertainment industry, US President Donald Trump declared 100% tariffs on all movies made outside the United States. Delivered in his trademark confrontational style, Trump's proclamation was framed not merely as an economic measure but as a battle for America's cultural identity. On his Truth Social platform, the president wrote that America's movie-making business had been stolen by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby, and that it is a time to impose a heavy tax to reclaim what rightfully belonged to the United States. With those words, the global cinema industry, already fragile from shifting markets and technological disruptions, was thrust into a new era of uncertainty. At first glance, the announcement might appear symbolic or politically motivated, but as analysts and insiders began to unravel its implications, the scale of disruption became clear. Films today are no longer national products tied neatly to one country of origin. A Hollywood blockbuster might shoot its exterior scene in New Zealand, employ special effect teams in India, edit in Canada, and finish sound design in London. A Telugu film from Hyderabad might depend on US ticket sales to recover costs. A French independent production could rely on Netflix's global platform for distribution. In such an interconnected ecosystem, Trump's blunt instrument of tariffs threatens to tear apart the thread that weave the global film industry together. The Indian film sector, the world's largest by volume, is among the most vulnerable. Every year, Bollywood and regional industries like Tollywood earn between 100 and 150 million US dollars from the North American market alone. Major Hindi Telugu blockbusters often gross upwards of $10 million each from theatrical releases in the US, not to mention revenues from streaming, satellite rights, and overseas distribution. For an industry where budgets are soaring and pan-India blockbusters are expected to perform globally, the sudden prospect of double ticket prices could be devastating. Analysts warn that a typical $20 ticket for an Indian film in the US could now cost $40 after tariffs, discouraging audiences, particularly the South Asian diaspora, from attending in large numbers. Streaming subscription could also rise as platforms like Netflix and Amazon are forced to adjust costs, further straining audiences. For Tollywood, the Telugu film industry based in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, the impact is even more pronounced. The North America box office has become its single largest overseas market. Big ticket releases are often premiered across hundreds of screens in the US, sometimes even before their Indian release. The diaspora community has transformed into a lifeline for producers and distributors, offering guaranteed revenue streams that cushion the risk of massive budgets. But with Trump's sudden tariff wall, insiders fear that these collections will shrink drastically. Distributors may be reluctant to buy overseas rights, producers may be forced to scale down ambitions, and the carefully constructed global release model that has driven Tollywood's rise could unravel. Analysts suggest filmmakers might have to rethink strategies, renegotiate with US partners, or in some cases, abandon hopes of major international releases altogether. The irony of Trump's move is that it may end up hurting Hollywood itself. American studios like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks have long relied on outsourcing to countries like India for animation and visual effects. From The Lion King to Avengers, Endgame, from Dune to Interstellar, Indian studios have been deeply embedded in Hollywood's production pipeline. The animation and VFX sector in India alone was projected to grow from $1.3 billion in 2023 to $2.2 billion by 2026. Fueled in part by Hollywood outsourcing. By targeting foreign-made films indiscriminately, Trump's policy could strangle this symbiotic relationship, raising costs for US studios and slowing down productions schedules. Even more worrying is the likelihood of retaliation. If India, Europe, or other countries impose reciprocal tariffs on American films, Hollywood could see its most lucrative markets threatened. International audiences account for over 70% of Hollywood's $30 billion box office revenue, recorded in 2024. A trade war over cinema could devastate an industry that has increasingly relied on global market to survive. Despite the dramatic rhetoric, a fundamental question lingers. Can such tariffs even be implemented? Legal experts point out the film are not tangible goods crossing customers' checkpoints, they are digital files, intellectual property, and part of global trade in services. The US traditionally runs a surplus in this sector, exporting far more entertainment content than its imports. Attempting to impose goods-style tariffs on services could face legal hurdles under international trade law. Not to mention practical enforcement issues. Would a co-production between Warner Bros. And Japanese studio be classified as foreign or domestic? If a film is shot in the United States but employs post-production teams in Canada or India, how is it defined? What about streaming platforms, where films are distributed globally with no physical import involved? Studio executives describe themselves as flummoxed, unable to see a path forward for enforcement. Legal analysts argue that Trump's plan might collapse under its own contradiction, but not before causing chaos in the industry. From Trump's perspective, however, the symbolism may matter more than the practicality. He has consistently framed offshoring and globalization as existential threats to American industries, from steel and automobiles to technology and now cinema. By attacking foreign films, he appeals to his nationalist base, portraying himself as the defender of American culture against foreign encroachment. In his speech, he even took aim at California, blaming its weak and incompetent governor for failing to protect the state's iconic film industry as production migrated abroad. The rhetoric resonates with voters who feels left behind by globalization, even if the policy itself may harm American business more than it helps. The reverberations are already being felt in the financial markets. Shares of Netflix fell by 1.5% in early trading following the announcement, reflecting investors' anxiety about the company's international content strategy. Global studios from Warner Bros. Discovery to Paramount have been silent, declining to comment as they assess the fallout. In India, the Producers Guild has expressed concern about impact on box office revenues, warning that the tariff could shrink the US market for Indian films by half. Distributors are in limbo, unsure how to price rights for upcoming releases. The uncertainty has cast a shadow over films slated for release during the festive season, when Indian cinema traditionally enjoys strong overseas performance. The reaction among filmmakers ranges from disbelief to cautious pragmatism. Some argue that the industry has weathered storm before: piracy, pandemics, censorship, battles, and will find ways to adapt. Others fear that Trump's move is uniquely destabilizing because it targets the financial foundation of the global film economy: international revenues. A director from Tollywood, speaking anonymously, noted that overseas collection often account for 20 to 30% of film's total earning. And I quote, "If that vanishes overnight, the entire business model collapses. We may have to cut budgets, reduce risk, and stop aiming for global scale. It's a huge setback," he said. The global nature of modern filmmaking means that the collateral damage could spread in unexpected ways. Consider co-production between Hollywood and European studios, or the rise of Korean cinema, which has gained worldwide acclaim after Parasite's Oscar triumph and Squid Game's global popularity. These industries thrive on cross-border collaboration, shared financing, and distribution networks. A blunt tariff could choke this ecosystem, isolating American cinema at a time when audiences are more global than ever. Trade experts are also warned of broader geopolitical consequences. Just as tariffs on steel and automobiles sparked retaliatory measures in the past, tariffs on film could ignite a cultural trade war, with Europe, India, and Asia taxing American blockbusters in response. The result would be higher costs for consumers everywhere, reduced access to diverse cinema, and potential job losses across industries tied to film production. At the heart of the controversy lies a paradox. Trump is trying to protect Hollywood by undermining the very globalization that keeps it alive. over 70% of Hollywood's revenue comes from outside the US, a figure that has grown steadily as domestic audiences plateaued. Marvel blockbusters, Fast and Furious sequels, and Disney animation survive on Chinese, Indian, and European markets. Cutting off this lifeline or risking retaliatory tariffs could weaken Hollywood far more than competition from foreign films ever did. Yet, Trump's narrative thrives on the imagery of loss and theft, portraying America as a victim and himself as a champion who will restore greatness. Whether or not the policy succeeds, the rhetoric reinforces his broader political brand. For audiences, the consequences are immediate and personal. Indian Americans who flock to see the latest Telugu or Hindi releases may find tickets prohibitively expensive. Subscribers to streaming platforms may face higher costs or reduced libraries, or companies adjust to tariff-driven uncertainties. American audiences may also lose access to international cinema, from French art house film to Korean dramas, as importers struggle with compliances. A world that had become accustomed to cinematic abundance, where films cross borders with ease, may soon face barriers reminiscent of trade wars in steel and textiles. The entertainment industry has always been a mirror of geopolitics. During the Cold War, American films were both cultural exports and ideological weapons. Today, in an era of trade wars and rising nationalism, cinema is once again caught in the crossfire. Trump's 100% tariff may never be fully implemented, but the signal it sends is unmistakable. Cultural industries are no longer immune from the politics of protectionism. In an interconnected world, this move could ripple through economies, alter creative decisions, and redefine how audiences experience cinema. India, Europe, and Asia now face a choice: challenge Trump's policy at the World Trade Organization, retaliate with their own tariffs, or absorb the blow and hope for a reversal. Hollywood executives face a similar dilemma: adapt to a fragmented world of tariffs and trade battles, or lobby aggressively against a policy they view as unworkable. For filmmakers, the dream of global cinema, where stories transcend borders and markets, suddenly feels fragile. And for audiences, the cost of politics may soon be measured not just in dollars, but in the stories they may never get to see. As the dust settles, one truth emerges with clarity. Cinema, like steel or silicon chips, is now a battleground in the global struggle over trade and identity. Trump's announcement, whether it became policy or remained rhetoric, has revealed the vulnerability of an industry that seemed untouchable. In the clash between nationalism and globalization, between protectionism and creativity, the movie screen has become the latest front line. The coming months will determine whether the world of cinema can withstand this political storm, or whether the art of storytelling itself will be reshaped by the politics of tariffs and trade wars. Thank you for watching. I'm Shubham. Until next time.